This way? All this way?
And we are live. Welcome to the 667 experience. We talk about six packs, six figures, and Sabbath. We talk about health, wealth, and spirituality, and we like to get into it. My name is Shane Carling, and I am here with my good friend and co host, Mr. Jordan Rouse. And Jordan, why don't you tell them what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about energy, frequency, and influence. So how those things kind of work together and what you give off and how you build that in your life. Like how do you find people that charge you up? How do you become that thing that holds on to charge, right? And we don't let other people affect us. So we're going to be kind of digging in to a lot of aspects that people might consider spiritual or emotional or whatever you want to call that in your life, but I view it as kind of energy, and it kind of combines in all different facets of your life, right? And we'll be talking about, like, I'll be sharing with you who my mentors are in this area, who I pay attention to, and why I pay attention to them, and where to get the training on it if you guys want to delve a little deeper or like a lot deeper into this subject, because it's one that will pay forever. Like when you go to what Warren Buffett tells you about influence, he's like, what's the highest paid career in the world? He's like, influence, right? He's like, at the end of the day, that's what he built throughout his life was influence. His credibility, his reputation, and his ability to execute on those two things built an influence. So when he talks, the world listens, right? That's an important thing, right? It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, there's all forms of wealth. But what does influence mean in the spheres that you exist? Right? And we all exist in different spheres, and like you've seen the little Venn diagrams where everyone's crossing in the different ways of things. We're going to explore all of those and how you kind of become one true form of self. So you're talking about you're not different people in different spots, right? You're just the creative, honest person that you want to be, and you're the same in all those spheres. And a lot of people change because they think that's what the culture expects, and that's not what we don't want you to do. We want you to go the other way, and we want you to figure out how not to change and how not to just to be your authentic self in all those different areas. So Shane, I'll start by asking this question, and we'll start on the lower point of view. Tell us a time that you were very divided on your own way of doing things.
A time where I
Like,
was very.
like, yeah. So when the time where you felt like your spheres of like who you were different. Like you're one person here, one person there, because we all go through that in our life, right?
Oh, holy smokes, man. You start off with the easy questions. Um, okay.
Yeah,
So, oh, wow. Man. Okay, so I would
it's my
I
it's my
yeah,
job.
okay, I got to wrap my head around. So a time where I felt divided, like I was like operating in two different capacities, like good Shane, bad Shane, like the hero and the villain, the the in sorts out of sorts, where I felt like discombobulated, where I was on track but feeling amiss, feeling a loss, feeling like I was completely disconnected, but yet some part of me feeling like I was on point. There's been numerous times in my life that have come up like that. I would say a really big one was so in 2015, I was having a lot of success with my business. It was relatively new to making, decent money. And so I was a bit of a spendthrift. And I remember, when you're building teams in companies, et cetera, whether it's network marketing or whatever, I was, I you have this platform you feel like you need to stay on, this pedestal, right? And so what happened was I felt like I had to stay on this pedestal, but you know, because people would come to this penthouse I was living in and they're like, oh, wow, you're in this amazing penthouse. You're in this amazing place. Who are you? I need to know who you are. How can I make money like you do? And it was really interesting. And people would show up for my trainings and people would travel from hours away just to come and hang out and learn from my Tuesday talks, I used to give. And so that was like this super ego Shane of getting that praise and recognition from people. Okay, praise and recognition. But the dark side of what was happening was the darkness. I didn't balance my shadow. You know what I mean? I used to be a hardcore drug addict when I was in my early 20s. You know what I mean? Like it was so moving into a penthouse and having all of those people who would come around, and then there would be parties after, and then there would be wine and, drinking, and then people would want to, live the life, and then but then drugs would come back around. You know what I mean? And like someone would have a pile of cocaine or something, and so whoops, Shane went and yeah, made some bad decisions, and so all these old demons woke up in my life, and it was not a good situation. Like, so all of a sudden, on one level, I'm like, Mr. Showman, Mr. Talk Show, Mr. doing the show and presentations, and Mr. living in the penthouse. And the other thing is like this like closet addiction came to clobber me, right? And I remember just like not knowing how to deal with this thing. My mind would get out of control. The idea of drugs, it was like this crazy vice to have to deal with, and struggling and trying not to do that, and then trying to put on this fresh face like I was good for the world, and then knowing how it was just corrupt and falling apart on the inside, and just feeling like, wow, like completely out of sorts, and trying to not be exposed, or trying to not be discovered, you know what I mean? And feeling the shame, and not knowing, having the tools with how to deal with it. I remember I've been in these places, that's one where it was really light and dark, so much light on one end, people coming to hear me talk, and sales going through the roof, and the other end, the inner dark secret struggles that were just killing me, you know what I mean? And crushing every ounce of light out of my soul. So I've been there. Now, thank God, I would say thank Jesus, but thank God I've got out of that situation, and I got into a better environment. And one of the things I realized from that, my takeaway was, your environment is stronger than your willpower. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Eventually you'll break if you're in the wrong environment. And so it's really important to be conscious about the environment that you put yourself into. Don't go near temptation. If you've got, and you don't need to dance and dabble on those lines either. Like I don't drink. I don't drink. There's things I've eliminated from my life so that those monsters don't come back. You know what I mean? Because it's just too enticing. So I've been
Totally.
there. I don't know if that was what you're looking for, but that was like,
No, that's a really brutally honest share, like in terms of what life can give you, and like where you're living in two different ways, where you have like an image you're holding up over here, but then you're acting the other way over here. It's like a soul divided,
Totally.
right? And it tears you apart. It's like night and day, and those imageries happen to everybody, right? Like I remember mine. My moment was this: is like, when I first started going to church, like exploring religion, exploring the Christian faith, and I think I was about 25, give or take. And, I started going to church, and I was dating this girl at the time, and I felt like I was pulled in two different worlds. Like I was living this one life that would be against what I was going to see and where I was. And I had to change my life dramatically. And man, it got really messy. Like beyond messy. And if like you're out there going through this, know that it does get better, but it's like whatever you want to call it, God, Jesus, in our sense, in mine and yours, Shane, is reshaping you, remolding you. But sometimes that process hurts. It's like you're a square and it's trying to put you through a round hole. Like it hurts. Like it's gonna shave some pieces of you off to refine the image of who you are. And like those moments are so hard. I remember just like going home just demoralized about who I was, even though I was winning in life, like great job, life was good. I was losing spiritually. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that I'm not where I should be. And there's those points of friction that just get so strong. Eventually something breaks.
Yeah.
And it's that breaking moment. And what you do with that means the most. Like that's that path where you can make it epically worse, or you can walk a journey that becomes so much stronger.
Yeah.
Right? And it's that moment where you just decide, I have to make a decision. I have to be A or I have to be B. I can no longer straddle the gray line. Whether it's anything in whether you're doing your taxes, is an ethical question. Don't straddle the gray line. Don't do it. There's an old statement, let what Caesar's be Caesar's. And I preach this to all the people out there and their tax havens 101. Just pay your damn taxes and be a good person and serve the country that serves you. Right? So there's a lot of things that we can talk about in terms of there, but being disingenuous to yourself is the greatest disservice that you can do. And so when we talk about frequencies or energies, that's when it raises a level of desperation in your life, because that desperation is going to cling on to the old you as tight as it can, and tight as you can until your grip falters and you fall, just like you're climbing a rock wall. And guess what? The ground's coming.
Well, I mean, it gets into the stories that we tell ourselves and other people about who we are. And so like, for example, that story that I was telling people on one land was, hey, I'm making lots of money, I got lots of sales, I could really help you grow a business. And maybe that was true, but that was just a partial truth. And I felt like I had to maintain this story rather than just being real and authentic. And so, but there's these stories. Again, I think a lot of people mold themselves to the frequency, the energy, or whatever that they feel society expects of them. I see a lot of leaders, who get to certain places in their business or growth where all of a sudden they think they're infallible or they don't make any mistakes and everybody else is wrong except for them, right? And that's a story that's very disingenuous. You know what I mean? But it happens. It happens all the time. And it's happened to me back in 2015. But what that breaking point was, that's the interesting part, is how does the fall go? And sometimes it's a bankruptcy. Sometimes it's a divorce. Sometimes it's a breakup. Sometimes it's like people lose everything. Sometimes it's, people just literally have to restart life from, and it can happen at any age. I think that to maintain, I think what we got to get to is how to maintain a true frequency for success. Like how many layers do we have to peel off and go through to find the truth of who we are?
That's interesting, Shane. One of my favorite guys out there is Grant Cardone. And, people argue like, oh, he's a Scientologist, whatever, but he's got some good points, what he says. And he says this thing. He says that the greatest real estate in the world that you can ever purchase is right here, the little space in between your ears. And if you pay attention to what he's saying the most important thing you can do, this is his message constantly, the most important thing you can do is invest in yourself. Yeah. Invest in yourself to become better every day. And he's like, the only person you need to get up against is who you were yesterday. Yeah. And truthfully, if people stop trying to attain the wealth, like if you look at guys like Warren Buffett, you and I, 99.999% chance we're never going to have what Warren Buffett has. That's just the world, right? And that's okay, because is wealth really that important? Is being a multi-billionaire, almost trillionaire, an important thing? Or is there wealth in different facets, right? Now, the hardcore capitalists be like, wealth is just wealth. But I think that a lot comes from who your relationships are, how you feel around people, how you empower others. Like, I know my biggest core value as a human being, it's written on my board, is to develop others to create progress. And what I mean by that is I find my greatest joy when I see someone that I've had impact on surpassing me in life. Like, I go, that's awesome. Like if I had $1 million and now they have 2, but it's because of some of the things that I helped them show and they took advantage of a great opportunity, that brings me my greatest joy. And that's some of my greatest relationships. Now, I know everyone's got different value structures, but mine is how I empower other people to do good things in the world, in their community, and what it is. So my wealth isn't really held in my bank account. That's just great. It's a great spot, but we have to be okay with what we value. Yeah. And I think that the entire world has this message: you have to value money, power, and sex. And that's what's constantly pushed in our face by every medium there is, right? It's what everything's based around nowadays. And they've got it backwards, because we need to value God, relationship, and community. And if we had the right value structure and we remembered that we come from thousands of years of development with those values structured, we'd really start to win.
Yeah, I want to enter the conversation on your thoughts on the accumulation of wealth. When I grew up, okay, when I was in my early 20s, I was around a lot of the party scene, okay, and in the city that I was growing up in, and the guys who had all the money, right, were the ones who kind of got away with all the stuff, and they'd have the girls, they'd have the parties, they'd have the drugs, they'd have the good stuff, they'd have the cars, you know what I mean? But they were also tended to be the most sinister, right? Like, not only did they have the wealth, but like you don't want to mess with that guy, or like it was like this. It was this whole persona. It was this
Totally
whole
is.
persona, and we've you know those guys like
It
2000
totally is.
back in 2004, 2005, 2006, like back when people still were working in the wood economy, like lumber was still a big thing. That was back when weed was not legal. It was underground. It was going for like 3,000 a pound or something. And there, you'd go to the clubs and you knew those guys. They would have the Hummers with the giant wheels and the spinners and the lights and like all the girl. It was just like it's this whole thing. Okay,
I,
and,
I remember. I
and
remember the wheels that just kept spinning.
the wheels just
What's
keep
up?
on spinning, and it's like, but that like that the world perceives that as high frequency, but it's actually done through low frequency, low energy, because it's the opposite of forming. It's the opposite of God, relationships and community. It's more about money, power, and sex. And
True.
and so like the ideology behind what the world tells people is important, what creates high frequency is money, power, sex. And that's actually, it's a very low frequency. I see marketers, they're like, secure the bags, it's all about the money, lock down the bags, it's like they got this language of making money god. And I think that is what and I've seen it just happen. Is just the collateral damage is they don't put a value on relationships and integrity and and ethics and honesty and being transparent, because they're so fully wrapped up in that story. I think that it's like the deception of riches. And I'm not anti money. I like making money. Money is awesome. Money is a good thing if you are a good person. Okay. I'm not downplaying the importance of accumulation of wealth, but I'm trying to zero in on the intentionality in the person trying to get it. Like, there's this quote, seek Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. But people don't want to seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness. They just want to go after the money, the power, the sex, the success, the fame, the glory, right? The insta famous, and run around. But when it gets down to character in the moments of testing, these people often fail to bring forth a goodwill.
There's so much to
There's
explore
a
there,
lot to
Shane.
extract right
Like
there.
the big one that I want to go back to is another quote by Grant that I heard the other day, and he was sitting with Jake Paul, and Jake Paul's this huge YouTuber, and he's got a lot going on, and he said to Jake, he's like, so how do you get it figured out as a person? He's like, it's one simple thing. He's like, if you want to understand power, power is one simple word, and that's attention. And he's like, if you have where the attention goes, the money flows. That's how this world works. It's a simple frequency. If you have the attention, you will come with the money. Unless you've done it extremely destructive and like shot something, you get a small period of attention. So he's like, it's about getting high levels of attention for a long period of time. He's like, so let's dig into it. How did Donnie win the election in the South, Mr. Donald Trump? Well, he got on everything. He was everywhere. He had all of the attention and all the notoriety for a long period of time. Well, that is power. And if people would just understand, when you speak someone's name, no matter good or bad, you're giving them power. So there was this old saying that's very biblical, I will speak no evil. And the reason you would not do that is because when you spoke someone's name, good or bad, it gave it reverence. So when people would try to persecute the church and persecute Jesus, it gave it more power. It gave it more power because they were speaking it into existence. They were giving it energy. And where the energy flows, the world will go. And so it's like this interesting thing when you understand frequency, energy, and attention. If you want to build a great world, you have to speak power into people and speak about powerful people you want to emulate. You know, who are the people that you're out there that you admire? Like, look at the frequency some people put off. I don't know if I know, Shane, you sat through a lot of Joel Osteen's speeches, or his
Every time I'm in my
sermons.
car,
Their sermons.
Channel 108.
Yeah, but you've actually been to Lakeview Church, right?
I went there
It's
once.
Lakeview.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So you went down to Texas and got to experience. But he has a magnetism to him, and he's only has positive things to say. He'll never say a detrimental thing. And it's because he believes in this power of intention and attention. And it's a very interesting concept. And when you start to study it, you start to realize that if you don't want something to have power, don't take notice of it. Because the more notice, the more times it fills your brain, the more power it has.
Yeah.
Right, over you. And so if you can learn to control that, you learn to control this immense power. Now your job now to get influence and power and attention in good positive ways, it depends on the moral construct of who you are, what you're going to do with it. But the secret of it is to get as much attention as you can. Because that attention, and the more people that are saying your name, the more you're winning.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, right?
Well,
and I think those fluid power dynamics have been exposed.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, who's the judge of whether you're really winning or if you've, like, so let's talk about that. I think that intention and the set of somebody's heart, the state of somebody's heart is very important. I think the spiritual state of that person is also very important. You know, if you are seeking attention by having people speak your name and get your name more reverence for your name, good or bad, right? So what's the intention? Like, because there's a lot of people right now who want that and they get it. They have power, but what do they do with it? Right?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. So like the first thing I wanted to unpack was power. So if people want what we call power in this world, how it looks, people will speak your name, you receive power. You have attention, you will receive power. Now, the moral construct of what you do with that power and how you draw that in, the intentionality of it, will determine how long sustaining it is and how impactful it is to the world. And this is where this special word comes in that you hear a lot of the time, legacy. And legacy is the energy that's going to maintain from your life after you're gone. Because that's the name you're going to speak, the people you're going to affect, the generational output that you're going to either have a positive or negative influence upon. And you have to choose if you want to use that this is where your compass comes in. Do I want to be a moral positive to the world, or do I want to be a moral negative and live my amped up life so I feel special?
But nobody asks themselves that question, Jordan. Because they don't get clarity on why they want to do something. They just go for it because of, I think, worldly desires. And so I don't think people intend or even put the consideration into the fact that their actions and behaviors could be immoral. I think that they've seared their conscience to it, so they are indifferent to it.
Well, I think that the greatest people that I know spend the most time on themselves. And this is a question that, like, Simon Sinek has brought up a lot in his books. So start with why, leaders eat last, X, Y. Like, if you've read these books, this intentionality of who you are and why you are, it is brought up at the highest leadership level. So there's not any high-level CEO leading a $50 million company that I know of, that I've come across personally, that hasn't asked these questions. So I believe that people are asking how to elevate their life. It's the quality of the questions that you're asking yourself. And if you want to tune up to those frequencies, define your why, understand your values, and that track where you're going to go opens up, because you become very passionate, because you really understand why you exist. You know, and we each have a different purpose. There's no like Unitarian purpose that exists for everyone. We all have different parts to play in this theater we call life. You know, as Shakespeare said, we're all actors upon a stage. which was an interesting quote. I love some of his old stuff you go back to there. So that idea is what I kind of want to unpack a little bit more. If we're acting upon a stage and this is life and we all have different roles to play, how do you clearly define that role? And like, what questions do you ask to get there? And so fundamentally, I see you walk a lot of people through with what you do, asking certain questions. And sometimes we ask, what do you want? And I always like to start with like, why do you want it? Like, if I help you achieve this goal, when I sit with business owners, they give me this thing, I want to get this amount of millions and this amount of goals and do this. And I'm like, well, why? What are you going to do with that money? Why? And they're like, well, it'd be good to have that much money. And I'm like, what are you going to do with it? You know, I've never seen a person. Yeah, I've never seen a person inherit great wealth in life without a very passionate reason about why they're going to use that wealth to do different things.
I've seen people make a lot of money who are complete dickheads.
Yeah, but they have a big why. I guarantee they have a big why. It's, I want a big house. I want fancy they have a big why saying, I want to be the coolest person people have ever seen because image is the most important. That's their why. Is it's like narcissistic. Yeah. Those are the ones that you'd call like that. But then you have these big whys like, look at what people do that do massive foundations that give away all their money, that build these huge lives up. There's a huge project that was started by Bill and Melinda Gates that give away all this money, and all these billionaires have signed up for it. I think there's like 30 or 40 billionaires signed up to give away all their wealth, right?
What program's that?
It's done by Bill and Melinda Gates. Warren Buffett signed up for it. Bill Gates is and his is signed up for it. I think Richard Branson signed up.
Just give away all their money. Like
yeah, when they die, all their money goes straight to the foundation.
Wow.
So it's kind of an interesting concept, and it's like this altruistic narrative. Most people don't really know it exists, but there's huge articles on it. So if you want to research it, you can easily find what's happening there. It blows me away that people haven't figured out that wealth comes to people who focus and have that desire. And you know, if you lose it for a minute or you get distracted and start going in a different direction, the only reason you do that is because you haven't really figured out your why. You know, your why will bring you clarity on your what and your how. And so, like, what if you want books to explore this for everyone listening? Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
That's a good one.
Really good book. Really good book. And it's going to be messages that will relate to you. Like, why did Apple do what it did? Like, what was Apple's why? How did that extrapolate? How did Steve Jobs bring reality to the iLife generation, you know, and what that means on a general societal level? Very cool. What did Jeff Bezos do to define Amazon? You know, what were these stories? Like, they're amazing when you look at the concepts of the developments of the minds of the people that brought forth such monstrosities of companies that we know today. So I'd say that development piece. Now, Shane, I want to dig a little bit into yours. There's moments we all go through that we ask ourselves a question and a light bulb went off in terms of development. And I've seen like you and I have walked a path together for 8 years. We've seen one another get married and go through the life and all the ups and downs of these different
and you get your
things.
Kids. I mean, yeah, bro.
Yeah, like me having an autistic child and going through special needs development, which frickin' almost crushed my life and my marriage at the same time. Like, if I just hope no one has to go through that. It's very hard having a special needs child. I'll tell you that. It's very worth it. It develops you as a human being, and is a little gift. I love the kid, but it's hard, right? And so we all go through these life-defining moments and things that ask us, but there's a question we have to ask. You know, and I'll give you an example of one of mine, and you can give me yours. You know, at the hardest time with my wife, okay, the hardest time, let's say Josh is screaming all night and he doesn't want to sleep, and my wife's angry because she hasn't got sleep for 2 days, and then that's put stress on my business because I can't think clearly to make a bunch of money, and like things are just hard, and you just want to leave, right? Like everything in your body says, I want to get away from this. This is the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. But my question is who do I want to be in my life? Do I want to be the guy that did the easy thing and just left to something new? Or did I want to be the person who stood up and gave hope to other people that are going through similar things to say, hey, I can hold on. It will get better. I can be I can be a good person. And I think that's what defines a good person is when it gets hard, you get to work, and you stay there and you're constant because man, what I know about marriage is that it's not all like it's not all good. it's it's a lot of tough stuff. And that moment was defining for me. And I remember lying there and I was just like tears in my eyes. And my wife was in the bedroom with Josh and she tried to put him back to sleep and he was screaming. And I'm just like, I just can't do it. And like just grinding my face in my pillow and crying, just asking God for like some sort of semblance of hope in that. And he just put that question in my mind, like, who do you want to be? Why do you want to be that person? And I want to be that person because I want to give honor. The first thing was like, I want to honor my God, right? Like that's a big thing. He created us for a certain reason. And that was so powerful in my mind that I wasn't going to give up, and I think that kept my heartbeat like just going in those times, you just don't want to. So that was kind of like my biggest moment of clarity. I think that happened probably 3 years ago, about 3 years ago when he was like two, like, yeah, it was 2.5 years ago. It was really tough. It was really tough just when we were getting his diagnosis and we didn't know what it means and we're trying to fix him, like, yeah, if you haven't went through it, you wouldn't understand all those different aspects, but it's almost like the grief of a loss of a human being.
Yeah.
It's, all those aspirations you had to have that child be normal. Even though like normal's not always good, but it's a very difficult time in anyone's life.
No, I
Right?
hear you.
Yeah. So that was my clarity moment, right? That was my turn moment about who am I going to be? Am I going to go left or go right? That decision tree that you have, am I going to go left? Or am I going to go right?
Yeah. So a defining moment of clarity, and thanks for sharing that, man. That's some deep stuff. So I've had a few, and the reason I've had defining moments of clarity multiple times is I am a little bit of a cannonball.
A
I am an
wrecking ball.
unstoppable juggernaut. When I get ideas, I'm going for something. You've tried. No one, like, it's literally nothing and no one can stop me. Will just go and do it. And so I've learned how to fine tune that. There's been points in my life where it was quite rough and I hit the edges pretty hard. Um, but a defining moment of my life was, I would say, last summer. Last summer, I did it again. I got into just business, but things weren't working out with the situation I was in, and I don't want to get into the details of that because but let's just say that it was a really challenging situation. I had over leveraged myself. I'd decided to create a TV show and didn't really have a proper plan, and that's okay. But it put me in a really tough spot. Like maxed the cards out, put a lot
Yeah.
of stress on my marriage, too much stress on my marriage, almost broke, completely destroyed and shattered it. Um, my wife looking at me for like 2 or 3 years of like, you've been working so freaking hard, you're always working, and now you went and tried doing what? You paid for a film crew, this and that, and the other thing. So like you just went right into the pit, you know what I mean, of debt and everything else, and then having to restart and redo and get back in traction and move forward and not having a network, having to rebuild a network and having to rebuild so many different things in my life. But my moment of clarity was literally, actually, would have been on my birthday, and I'll tell you why. Because while all that stuff was going on, I'd been able to still surround myself with such amazing group of friends. I had my buddy Steve. I had we call ourselves the Sevenfold Ministries. There's like seven of us, just really really good, awesome buddies who we've been there for each other for like 4, 5, 6 years. You know what I mean? Like just solid people who love and trust, and they always got your back, and they always see the best in me. And it was on my birthday, which and this friend, and we basically decided to go got on a yacht. We flew out to, or we boated out to this island. We flew in some of like the smartest people on the planet. It was just, my buddy was like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I was like, "Well, let's." And this is, I mean, I got some really cool friends. Let me just put it this way, okay? One of my best friends, actually, I say he's my best friend. He goes and tells me, "Shay, what do you want to do for your birthday?" And I'm like, "Well, I think we should get some of the smartest people in the world, fly them down here. We'll get on a yacht. We'll go out to an island. We'll bring a camera crew. We'll just take on the biggest conversations in the world head on, and we'll record it all and have a good time and go camping under the stars." He's like, "That's brilliant." We did it. So we just flew. Like, there's such smart people at that. But it was in that time where we were walking through the forest, going through a hike, and I had my guitar, and then everybody just stopped, and we found this really cool place, and we sat down. And everyone's like, "Dude, play us some guitar." And I've been playing guitar for so long, and I sat down, and I had an audience on an island, which we took a yacht to with some of the smartest people on the earth. It was just brilliant, and then I was just playing guitar, and they were loving it. And after I played, it was such an emotional connection that a couple guys just had like a breakdown, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, that was a defining moment in my life, was that the feelings that I had been able to express and transmute into music, other people felt the same thing. They felt it. They were in it. Like, what I feel, they felt. And that was a defining moment of clarity, and it gave me a sense of purpose and direction, because I was uplifted by people who saw the best in me. They didn't look at the mess ups. They didn't look at where I was at, because they understood. Hey, I might have been going through tough times, but I get through it, and I did get through it. Now I'm through it. You know what I mean? I'm in such a better place now. But I got clarity, and that's where I decided to create 7-Day Weekend. That's where I decided, to really launch it. And that's where I decided to do my album and call it Acoustic Prayers. That's where I decided to go and start pursuing my music. And because of that defining moment in my life, I had a crystal clear vision on what was happening, because sometimes you just need someone else to see the truth of who you are, the amazing person that you truly are, the powerful, beautiful, intelligent, amazing, blessed, incredible being that you truly are. And so when I received that and I got that really took me to another level, defining moment in my life, and been really blessed. And and then also around that same time, it was like you and we really connected at that time in our lives, in my life too. I was going through hell, but I had a circle of friends, just like guardian angels, just protecting, just walking with me, keeping me safe. You know what I mean? And I wish and I pray that other people could have, and I hope that most people do, and I know that most people don't, but have such incredible friends. And you only get friends like that when you walk in love, compassion, empathy, integrity, honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. You only get friends like that when you can get off of that ego horse and be your full genuine self. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, like Shane, thanks for sharing that. Like, I understand those moments you went through, like, because we lived them side by side.
Yeah.
We've known each other. I remember the first night we met was something like that, transcendental kind of doing that. I think I'd had too many drinks. This is years and years ago when I used to drink a little bit, and I think it was like before I met my wife. So this has to be 8 years ago, around a campfire at Darren's 40th birthday party. You start playing the guitar. I'm like, who's this guy? So yeah, totally, man. I felt that we became great friends. I think a lot in our friend group, and I can only speak of our friend group and my personal friends, is that we don't really hold on to judgment of people. Like, we're really easy with that, and I think that's kind of important to build genuine relationships, because you can't really feel like safe, like psychologically safe around people, unless they're not going to judge you. and they're quick to forgive. So there's lots of grace in the hearts of the people around you.
Yeah.
Because I know between best friends, everyone's had their battles,
Oh
right?
yeah.
We've all had our
You and I
battles.
have had battles. We battled each other.
A couple times,
Not too bad.
We're pretty good at communication between one another, and we're pretty hardy. Like we'll argue till we're both like blue in the face and die of old
But you know
age.
what the thing is, we're willing to argue. And that is a special kind of friendship when you're willing to argue without being like, man, stop talking to me, like I'm just gonna block you, man. Like there's a certain amount of emotional development required for friendship. You know what I mean? You got to be willing to argue without like friends off for life. I don't like you anymore because we're not getting along.
Yeah, well, friends love lots and forgive fast.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they're not really seeking true friendship. They're seeking there's the utility point. So you'll see like I've had in relationships in my life, like as soon as the kind of utility ran out of the relationship, the friendship wasn't really there.
Yeah.
And or someone was just not that interested. Like I have a lot of people I'd be great friends with, and I realize why they have no friends. I'm going to tell you this is honestly. It's because they don't take the time to engage in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like I call my buddies up. It could be sporadically. It could be once a month. It could be once a week. It could be like, once a quarter. But I call them and say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? What's up? I saw this about you. I just want to acknowledge that's really cool, man. Good job, or something like that. Give them a little clarity, a little hope, let them know you're around. If you're not doing that, you're not checking in with other people. You don't really value other people.
Yeah.
Well,
and but then there's like the marketer prospect mind, right? And I feel like a lot of people, and I fell into that for a while. Most marketers are horrible friends because they don't know how to value friendship. It's always a conversation around you got to join my thing, or I got to say, and like I get how there's the stigma around network marketing because of the disingenuousness of most people's rapport building tactics to recruit. And so, but you and I, however, we've done business and not done business, you know what I mean? And we actually started off as friends, did business together, don't do business anymore, but are still great friends. And it's like nothing has ever changed in our relationship. And so maybe you could speak on that, because I feel like that's like most people lack the understanding of what true friendship is. They have false ideas because they think that it's based off of success, power, and money, which is not what friendship is based on. That is an egocentric, narcissistic type of relationship. But true friendship is based off of God, community, connecting, and listening and understanding.
So that's very true. So let's dig into this. So there's a couple of things here. So friendship, our story is different because we're similar. Like our value system, Shane, is exactly the same. Like I would say my top value in life, okay, is a combination of like building wealth and development. So I call it forward progress. And wealth is like spiritual, emotional, physical, financial, all together. That's what I consider what wealth is, okay? But I'm always going forward. I'm like a great white shark. If I stop swimming, I'm going to die, okay? And you're very similar. You're always like, let's go, let's grow. I'm never going to stop. This race doesn't end till I die, And so I think we shared very similar values. And I think you have to be careful how you select your friends. And you want people who are going in the same direction as you. They can be going at different speeds, but they have to be going in the same direction. They have to want similar things in life as you. And that kind of allows you to, pull in a good group of friends, someone that melds well with you, that you understand. You have that common kinsmanship between you. I think that has a lot to do with it in terms of friendship and why our friendship kind of melded. Others is you have to be really clear on what a friend is to you. Like I'm very, very picky with my close group of friends because they have to share values with me. They have to do certain things. Like all my friends are physically active. I don't have non-physically active friends because I'm a physically active person and I like to spend time doing those things. So that's like one of my core values. If you're not like an athlete of some sort or into fitness or something like that, you're probably not in my friend group. That's just the natural thing that for me is so important because I believe treating your body like a temple. And people who don't do that, or if you're like a big drinker, you're probably not in my friend group because I view that as a form of destruction. If you're smoking weed all the time and smoke again, you're probably not in my friend group because I can't bring my friends around you. I can't bring my family around you because those are your habits, so you're probably not in my friend group. So I'm very selective because I know what direction I'm going. And it's not that I hold judgment on those people. Like, cool, they're living their life and they're on their frequency. I'm totally happy for them, right? And who are you to say, hey, that's a bad thing for you, but life's friggin' hard, so I understand completely that they do it. It's just I'm going in a certain direction, and you have to find people that are going the same direction as you, and that's going to define good friends. Otherwise, that kind of divergent thought pattern or divergent directions will pull you apart in time. And that's why they say when you up your income, you up your friend group. But I wouldn't exactly say that's true.
No.
I'd say when you up your income, you up the number of friends you have around you going the same direction. And there's going to be some above and some below. And you're always supposed to be helping people get to where you are and then having other people help you get to where they are.
That's right.
And I think that's part of the process of being a good human being. If someone's mentoring you, but you're not mentoring somebody, you got to change your ways.
Well, and that's the thing is you got to have someone mentoring you. And you said it last week where you said, mentors are people who are in your life, you've got more experience, that speak into your life, and they help you figure out what's going on and solve problems in your life and chart a course. Okay. But they don't charge you. Like a real mentor is not someone who's like, yeah, sounds like you kind of need this. I'm going to charge you that. No, a mentor shouldn't charge. But a coach, is okay. So look, if I want to build a media company and I know I've got to do X, Y, Z, I've got a mentor guiding me and I've got all this kind of stuff going on. I need a coach for accountability. That's it. Just help me get out of my way. That's what a coach is like, Shane. So this habit's coming up for you. You got to stop doing that and you got to start doing this and get focused.
Yeah. Your coach is like your HR manager.
Yeah, like
I always like to call it that.
One of my coaches, they're always like, Shane, a lot of ideas. Let's focus on one. Good, you got that one done. No, that was 5 ideas. Let's get back to one. Now just focus on that one. Okay, good. Like that's literally, what I'm paying thousands of dollars just to Shane, focus.
I remember one time I sent you for a presentation and remember what the guy said? He's like, slow the hell down. It just reminds me of that moment because I sent you there. I'm like, Shane, do this presentation for me. And the guy stopped you. Slow down. That was a funny moment.
Yeah.
Quite.
Like a bull. You gotta like put the reins on.
I remember you literally told me after it didn't go so good. He literally said, "Slow down."
So anyways, about that.
He didn't join our adventure. But in terms of mentors and coach, how I view a mentor is they give you strategic direction and vision. How I view a coach is they help in pure execution. So they're side by side serving in you in the trenches where the mentor kind of guides you on that high level strategy piece. So like I have mentors financially, spiritually, emotionally, different people because they have different skill sets and they're at different levels. So if you ask me who I follow like emotionally, I look at guys like who are really adept when they were alive, like Wayne Dyer. I really liked how his emotionality, I didn't agree with all the things that he does spiritually and things, but his emotional available and how he attentively listens to people, cares about people and counsels people. I thought that was pretty amazing. A pretty cool guy.
It takes a lot of time to develop that level. Like Wayne Dyer was at a very, very next level. Like, he was able to see so much more of the story and speak to that story that was going on and happening for someone. And so, that emotional development is massive. And the thing is, I think a lot of people, they don't check themselves whether they're actually acting emotionally correct. Right? I think it's an important thing to check, especially right now. There's so much stress in the world, so much chaos, so much lack of love and so much coldness and so much disconnection. it's easy to act out. It's easy to get into that emotional state where we're casting judgment, we're forming biases, we're spilling off ill narratives. We're getting influenced by the media. All of a sudden you're pro this or anti that, it's divisive. Emotions outweigh logic every day of the week. What is a way someone can fast track their emotional development so that they can increase the longevity of having a high frequency? Because I think if you don't have a proper emotional development, you cannot maintain high frequency. You'll always resort back to your highest emotional bar, your highest, the highest emotional setting you've got. And so if you've got the emotions of a 4-year-old, for example, and you're temper tantrum city, you're not going to be able to maintain any type of high frequency. You'll revert.
So just a little shout out. Who's really good at this stuff? Vitaly.
Oh yeah, our buddy Vitaly. Yeah, he
throw
is.
a name out. Our brother is very good at this stuff. So how do you keep your highest frequency tuned in? I think and our buddy Chris Ryan, he's really good at that too. A little shout out to him. Absolutely love him. There's a lot of meditation, I think, involved in that. I think you have to have what you call heart development time, where you actually spend time in your own thoughts, in your own mind, but with the intention of clearing things up. The intention of asking yourself the questions of what's bothering you, what's on your mind, what do you need to improve, and how you're going to go about that. So actually spending time in meditation and prayer. For me, in prayer, in the Word, in God, those are things that I really enjoy. Learning from the Bible and doing that, that's a big center for me, because I believe that all good knowledge it's out there in terms of spiritual development has already been spoken in that fun little book we call the Bible. I think it's all there, and everything else is a regurgitation, of what happens. Every time I learn something from Tony Robbins, I go back to my Bible. I'm like, it's right there. Well, how did I miss that last time? How did I miss it?
Yeah, it's kind of like the master code book of all wisdom and information. But
Right? So yeah, exactly, man, exactly. So when I look at that coding and like what I'm learning, so how do you stay at your highest frequency in the long term? You have intention about your heart and your head and how to connect the two and stay focused. I find so many, this is especially strong in men, but most of my circle is men, because men counsel men. This is natural, right? Their lack of focus is extraordinary, meaning they have such a hard time having high productive hours. Like when sitting down and actually coming up with the right plan and then going to execute on it, it'll all be written down and they just have some deliverables to do, but somehow busyness enters their life. They don't know how to schedule intentional time in successful patterns to achieve those goals of getting certain architectures set up to feed them for the rest of their lives. And, I think part of being a high level business kind of consultant that I do with my company is doing that exact piece, is being able to help people structure that. But then, how many people at the highest level, they don't want to go to their next level because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the work.
I think that's the thing. Most people, I'll be honest, I'll be one of the first to admit, sometimes doing the work, because if you want to get to a new level emotionally, you want to get to a new level in your business, if you want to go and get that snowball of success. If you've ever done it before, it takes a lot of work. And it can be like, if you're in the snowball, if you're in the work, if you're in that frenzy, yeah, you're super unbalanced, okay, in a lot of areas of your life, because you're going to have to put certain things, relationships and time with loved ones, etc., on the shelf. I know you're talking about emotions. I'm talking about business here, but there is something about that, and there's a time. So, but it's to do that work, and why people will back down is because maybe they rolled that snowball once or twice, but it didn't quite get to the other side of the mountain where they had the compounding effect, where it just went boom. Or they hit that that place of bliss, where it was like really having that amazing, awesome relationship and that emotional state that you deserve. And so it just takes so much to get there. And then whether it's having success in business or anything, that if you aren't in the midst of that, it's kind of like looking at a tornado and being like, yeah, I mean, I could drive my car through the tornado. Yeah, or I could just stay here.
It has a lot to do with that. There's levels of comfort, Shane, that I think people attain, and they know what to do after that. Like I have so many friends. So for example, like personal story, you hit like $1 million in wealth, okay, and like no debt, assets there. That point is dangerous for every person because at that point you can live a comfortable life. You don't really have to achieve that much more. You can status quo is pretty easy to maintain. You have lakes on weekends, things are simple. I see a lot of business leaders and professionals hit that point around 1 million to 3 million in wealth, and they're just like, I'm done. Right? Just something in their head goes, nothing else. No, I'm just gonna chill. There's a
Yeah,
lot of beer to drink, games to watch, things to do. Just enjoy
people to
it. Eat,
spend
drink,
time
be merry.
with, right?
Yeah, and it warns against this so vehemently. And in all religious texts in history, they say that the real definition of a person is not starting the race, not achieving first place in different parts of the race, but finishing it. And so I think where we lack in life is that people have this notion of retirement. And I want to tell you, there's some cultures that don't. And then I'll tell you the story first, and then I'll allude back, and we can guess what cultures don't have retirement. So the fact is we have a total lack of older people passing on knowledge to younger people.
Oh yeah.
We do in our society because we have something called retirement. Oh, I've done my time. I'm 60, 65. I'm going to retire. Okay, well, what about all the young people? You could pass all this knowledge and help them go through so much less pain, but you're checked out on your vacation property in Palm Springs or Las Vegas or whatever, and so many snowbirds go south, and all that brain capital leaves our country, and young people starve for that knowledge because we could have all these great people pouring into us, And I'll tell you what, there are some people who finish the race. There are some people who just keep it up. I can give you a list of guys who help mentor me, right? Just a shout out to Robert Hunt out there, awesome guy. And he's finishing the race. Like he's going to go hard until the day that God stops his heart. Like that guy. There's guys in my church. I remember like I showed up to our meeting. We've got a huge mega church, right? And there's this 86-year-old guy there at the elder meeting. He looks around and his name's Barry, and he's just looking around, and I'm like, and he got under everybody's skin. It was hilarious. He disagreed with every point someone was making, but he was there finishing the race. I have so much respect for that, for people who finish the race. Now, the culture I was talking about that doesn't believe in a retirement, that's actually a mortal sin and they follow it, is Judaism. So what is the richest population per capita on the planet? It's Judaism. That's the culture. They have the most wealth. Why? Because they believe in passing the knowledge, the logos, from one generation to the next. And if you go to their schools, all their teachers are 60 to 80. Why is that? Because they have the most knowledge to pass to the younger generations.
Totally the way it should be done.
And built in their religion is you have to show up, and even when you're older, in your 30s and 40s, you have people speaking into your life as a form of accountability within the denominations of Judaism. It is crazy, and that is why their structure and their power is so strong. And there's a book. What's his name? By Rabbi Daniel Lapin.
Thou Shalt Prosper. I think that is one of the best books ever written on understanding wealth and the attainment of it. It's one of the best books ever. It adds ritual. You know what I mean? It adds structure to your mindset around money and the divine flow on how it actually rolls out.
And I like the path of it talks about what God's actual plan for money is and what he wants you to do with it. And what does that look like in a character of supporting your community, your family, and how does that work? Like, how should we look at it? It's a very taboo topic. Like, what do you do with your money, right? You're not supposed to tell people what to do with their money. Well, actually, there are things that guide us on what to live a genuinely strong life for money. And, I thought that book opened my eyes to some things that I never thought about. I never thought that retirement wasn't a thing, because our culture tells you retirement's a thing. And I thought that was a real thing until I read that book. And then I thought how you use money and how you view community. And I thought, oh man, it's super biased just to buy from your own type of community. And he flips it on its head and says, man, it's super evil not to buy from the people who love you first. And he flips it on its head. He says, why would you not support those who love you first? And that allows you to support everybody else around you, because you make your inner community so strong. And so the ethics and morality there are very interesting, and they were very divergent versus what I was used to. And that book kind of wrecked my world for about a year. It made me re-engineer how I looked at wealth and giving. And he says, like, your only point of what you do, and this is like my favorite part of the book, your only job in life and why you were created is to add value, the value that was specially put in you, that you're better than everybody in the world at, and go add that to other people's lives. And then once you find that value, how do you give it away as much as you can in your life? And he's like, if you just give that away as much as you can and have as much influence around that value, everything that's good will pour into you. You don't have to worry about that, because you're maximizing your effect on the world. And it's all about how much value you can give in the time that you have in front of someone, right? And then that was reiterated to me by another one of my Jewish friends, Eric. And Eric would constantly tell me that, Jordy. He's like, it's about the impact that you have in the moment with the people that you have them, because your one moment could change the rest of their lives.
Oh, wait. Say that again. It's about the impact you make in someone's life in the moments you're with them.
Yeah. Because that one impact could change the rest of their lives. For example, I'm going to give you a good movie reference. Remember when Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future is playing Johnny Be Good?
Oh, yeah.
And they have all those scenarios where he's going back, and that one punch or that one dance or whatever changes the future. Imagine every moment that you live as a human being. If you're living to your existential peak, that with all your power and all your spirit, that every moment you could be creating a better life for the person in front of you, that you have that power to redefine their future from just being the guy who waxes the car to the guy who owns the car store, because you made that impact in the moment that you had and maximized that spiritual gift that you were given to give to them. And that's why I really like Back to the Future, because it really, really grabs onto that idea. And I never saw it until I watched it again with my sons. And I'm like, that is what they're talking about. And it was like this realization. You got to get the knowledge from somewhere and then apply it and say, oh, man, that movie was way ahead of its time. Get it? Back
every word, your every thought, your every word, your every deed has eternal consequences or advantages and benefits. You know, like literally everything you do, everything you think, everything you say spills out and has some strange ripple effect that just continues to go on. Every sparky thing you've ever said, every rude thing you've ever commented, every nice thing you've ever done continues on. There's this way it just keeps rolling through cause and effect, through the ripple effect, the butterfly effect, right? It's a real thing. And so I mean, yeah, if you keep that in your mind and you're like, how can I make the most meaningful impact in this moment?
So here's the last thing I want to leave it, because I think we should close up for the evening. And this has been awesome talking about frequency and power. I want to let people know this, that if you live the life of darkness has a very low ability. It's like a low frequency in life. You know, it sometimes can travel a long distance, but it's not very powerful. But high frequency energy can light up a universe. And so imagine that positivity that you create, that light, that goodness, that's going to last forever. When you look at a star, do you know that light coming at you's been traveling for thousands, if not millions of years from different parts of galaxies and universes? How strong light energy is. But that darkness, you see it in the sky, but what do you take note of? You take note of the light. It's like a directional marker. And so I just want to leave it with people is like, do you want to be something devoid, or do you want to be the directional marker and have people go towards it and gain that attention? So it's an interesting concept when you put it to that idea, right?
Yeah, and you know, finishing off with the you know, an inflection or a reflection on the idea of power, which again, so many people seek, and when they get a taste of it, what is power? Power is recognition. Power is attention, right? It's other people. If you're all by yourself, you could be the most powerful person in the universe. No one gives a crap. You know what I mean? You're all by yourself. You're alone. It's, you know, you're just delusional if you're powerful and alone. If you're isolated and on an island thinking you're powerful, you're not. You're a naked wretch on an island. It's probably going to starve to death, right?
Cast away, Tom Hanks.
So, but the thing is, life is quick and short, and the pursuit of power should be a far down the list after the pursuit of God, relationships, community, connection. And
Well,
I feel like
yeah.
if you're seeking power and that's just attention, it's like calling attention to you. I need to be seen. I like what you said. Just I'm not trying to be the one. I'm trying to point people to the one. But I'm not trying to be the one. I'm better than this person, I'm better than that person. I'm like, no, I just follow Jesus. I go to him, and that is true power. So with that, guys, I think unless you have anything else you want to say, Jordan, good. Love you guys. Next week is going to be an even better episode than today. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but it's going to be great. But we got a lot of comments and engagements on this. This is going to be awesome. So hey guys, if you've commented on this, great. Go to our YouTube channel. It's the 667 Experience. Please subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook. Make sure that you go and like our group, our Facebook page, the 667 Experience. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to come at you with another incredible episode. I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.
God bless.